Do you ever find yourself repeating the same project mistakes over and over again, hoping that this time it will be different? Surprisingly, it rarely is. We're talking topics like project scope creep, or going over the budget, too tight deadlines, miscommunication between the project team members or between the project team and the client. And I'm pretty sure you can come up with at least a couple of experiences, of examples yourself. The thing is, the projects are a living, breathing process. There will be always something that will be unexpected, that will not go according to the plan. So every project can actually be a learning opportunity if we actually want to learn from it. And what I've noticed in so many companies, they would just finish a project and just move forward to the next thing without even taking some time to really reflect. And then they repeat the same mistakes again. What a surprise! So today I would like to share with you a simple practice that I've seen work firsthand on how to actually learn from those mistakes and actually improve going forward. It's pretty simple. I've seen it work firsthand, and I'm super excited to tell you more about it today. But before we get to the core of today's video, I would like to introduce myself. Welcome to my channel. Great to have you here. My name is Agata, and this entire channel is about helping you make your early career suck less, how to make it more enjoyable and fulfilling. I spent the majority of my career in the so-called high-pressure, fast-paced environment, corporate, startup, consulting agencies, and now I'm running my own business. And throughout this time, I've been figuring out how can we make our everyday work life more fulfilling and more enjoyable. So if that's something that's interesting to you, please hit subscribe. Welcome here. And if you subscribe, then you will be notified of any new videos. So you'll be the first one to watch. And it would make me very happy. Anyway, back to the core of today's video. So what I like to talk to you about today is a retrospective meeting. Sometimes it goes by other names like a shorter form retro or postmortem, although I really don't like this name. Some companies use it. I mean, I don't make the rules, but I don't like it. But that's another way of saying exactly the same thing. So basically, a retrospective meeting is a type of meeting after each sprint, project, or significant milestone, where the project team members meet in order to reflect about said sprint, project, milestone. What went well, what didn't go well, how can they improve? If you work in or have worked in an agile environment, then you probably are familiar with it. If not, that's even better because you're going to learn something new. So I've seen many companies not do it at all and just move forward to the next thing. I've seen some companies who treat these retrospective meetings as a necessary evil, like they have to be there. It's yet another meeting in their schedule full of meetings and nothing will ever change. So why do we even, like, they really do not think that it will change anything. So, and nothing does change with this attitude. So today we're changing that. Today I would like to share with you the tips that I've seen work firsthand from my experience as a retrospective facilitator that will actually help make this meeting really interesting and really ones that you look forward to because you see that they actually work and that they actually move the needle and change something in your upcoming projects. So, how to best prepare? of course, there's preparation. If you already know me, you know you need to prepare. I would look at, in order to run a successful retrospective and actually change how the business is done, how the projects are run, we can look at 3 timeframes: before the retrospective meeting, during the meeting, and after the meeting. So let's start with the before. I already hinted it, you have to prepare. But how do you prepare? First of all, there should be some sort of owner. Someone should be responsible for organizing, structuring, and following up on this call. If it's no one's responsibility, nothing will change. You can already take my word for that. So there should be a person responsible. It could be a product owner, project manager, team lead. Depends on your company structure. But there has to be one person responsible. This person then should make sure that everyone on the team members, so first they need to figure out who should attend this meeting, and then give them time to reflect individually. That's really important, that everyone comes prepared, that every single attendee had a time to think themselves what, in their opinion, went well, didn't go well, and how can they improve. Thinking on the spot in the meeting will not make it efficient. This is one of the reasons why those meetings drag for hours, if people are not prepared. So give the time for everyone. You can send, if you have a certain CRM, perfect. But if you don't overcomplicate it, a simple Google form with the person's name, their role, project name, and questions: what went well, what didn't go well, what can be improved, can be sent out very easy. And if they didn't do it, reschedule the meeting. Otherwise, you can be sure that the meeting will drag for a really long time and it just wouldn't be as effective. Another important part of the preparation would be thinking of the structure of the call and preparing some sort of visual for others to follow along on the call. There are so many different visual collaboration tools, like Miro, Mural, but it can be anything that allows the attendees to see where they're at and know what's going on, right? So it can be even a simple PowerPoint or Google Slides. As long as people can follow along where they are, it will do their job. And these were the most important things when it comes to preparation. By the way, if you are taking notes, amazing. If not, I will create a cheat sheet for you that you can download. I will link it in the description of this video, so you can have all those tips in one place that you can look at when you do your next retrospective. So this was the before preparation phase. Now, during the meeting itself, everyone came prepared, everyone prepared their reflections, and we're ready to go. What I found very helpful, and as you've heard, I've been a retrospective facilitator. So I was the unbiased person outside of the call that was moderating it, outside of the project that was moderating it. The reason is that sometimes those projects can be pretty stressful. There could have been a bumpy ride, and conversations can get a little bit in this finger pointing, blame putting direction. And of course, we want to steer out of it. We wanted to go back to the objective that it is not to put blame on people, but it is to take learnings and put them into practice going forward. So having someone unbiased, having someone outside of this project can be really helpful. Another very important thing is to be present on this call. This is one of those calls where it's really crucial for everyone to be fully present. First of all, if you're checking emails, Slacks, whatever, it's disrespectful, and I could end just at this. But you are actually in this creative mode thinking, how can something actually improve? So you really need to be in the situation for this call to be effective and to make sense. Another important thing is, I've briefly mentioned this finger pointing, blame putting. None of that. Really, this is about learning, always coming back to this objective, avoiding making it personal. And if you have heard of this nonviolent communication NVC framework, use it. It's amazing. If you haven't heard of it, I will most probably make a video about it because it's a game changer. But really be respectful to other team members. So that's about your personal attitude. And for the person who runs the retrospective, another important component is structuring the call. So really, and that's also why facilitator can be a great person, because they can really manage the time and make sure that we are in time and we cover all the points that we have. So the structure that I found helpful is some form of introduction, warm-up, icebreaker, check-in to let everyone arrive, then followed by a brief introduction of the project, especially if it finished sometime in the past. That's not ideal, but we know how it is. If we want to put a couple of people who are already busy in a call, sometimes it takes weeks. Not ideal, but that's what it is. So a brief reminder of the project, and then we move to every section. So what went well? And please don't avoid this section. Please don't just like rush through this section. I don't know where it came from, but I've seen so many people who just assume that, well, if it went well, then it went well. There's nothing to say. No, no. If people did a good job, appreciate them and celebrate that. This is like a human thing. So please, if you're a kind of person who just rushes through what went well and you are surprised that other people are underappreciated, here's a hint. Maybe that's why. So after everyone said what went well individually, we're going to the second section, which is what didn't go well. And that's usually where there's no finger pointing, no victim blaming part comes into play. What didn't go well, and what is helpful to actually make that more actionable is to cluster those ideas. So everyone shares their own examples, and then we, in this visual collaboration tool that we're using, we can look for like common threads between those, right? So is this something that keeps on being repeated by other team members? Is it something that's maybe this person specific, so it's kind of like on them? It will help you. It will help you see whether there's like a deeper issue there. And after you've done this part, then it goes to how can we improve? And what is really important here is be realistic. And it means that know what's in your control. So if there are some external circumstances, what can you do about it, right? But that's also the reason of frustration, where we think that there are things outside of control. And of course, there are some things, a lot of things that are not in our control, but there are also many that are. Like if you are a project manager and your team has been stressed out because the deadlines were too tight, then this is an actionable learning for you to always give more buffer. If you were consultant estimating, or solution architect estimating the project, how much time will it take, and you were not, and your estimation were too tight, right? So the project went over the budget. How can you estimate better? Is there something that you need to learn? Should you look at some previous projects for reference points? What is an actionable step that you know you can take to change it? And the last part, is the action items and next steps. That's why it's also very important to have someone who keeps track of time so that we don't forget about the very last part, which is actually, okay, so what do we do now? So what's important is that everyone leaves with some sort of tangible action step, right? So in the example that I mentioned is of project manager, you can say that in my next project, I will make sure to add 10% extra buffer or an extra day, or communicate something in a more clear way with the client, so that we don't repeat this too tight deadlines and the stress in the project team. And what's important here is to have clear action. So what exactly will you do? Clear deadline, and someday in the future it's not a clear deadline, and the person who does it, and document it somewhere. It doesn't have to be fancy. Again, if you have some great CRM that tracks it, amazing. If you don't, even a simple Google form that everyone can access, or a follow-up meeting or calendar reminder really will do the trick. The most important thing is to remember about it and actually do it. How you do it really doesn't matter. If you work in a company like consulting agency where different teams could benefit from it, share it with other teams as well so that they don't repeat these mistakes again. And these were and again, after the retrospective, follow up. You can schedule a meeting after like 2 or 4 weeks to see if anything changed, to add this extra accountability, to actually make sure that those things happen, that those action items are delivered, and rinse and repeat. I hope that it was helpful to you. If you haven't heard of retrospectives, I hope you give it a go. It's also, I gave tips on how to run it in the team setting, but you can also do it for yourself. I use this tool, this reflection tool, in my business all the time. After a client project or after some marketing campaign, I take time to reflect with myself and see, what went well, what didn't go well, how can I improve, and take learnings from there. So it's definitely a great tool to be more intentional, to work smarter, not harder. And you will really see that it also makes your work more satisfying, where you actually keep on learning something new rather than repeating exactly the same mistakes. So I hope it was helpful for you. Please share in your comments your thoughts about it, and if you have any tips yourself how to run good retrospectives, I would love to hear from you and others as well. And hit subscribe to be notified of next videos, and I hope to see you next time. Ciao!